This is indeed essentially a dear old people message. I just want to know, why is it hard for you to hear the truth about our present, the real state of your children? If you grew up saying when you were young that you have hope for the future, better future for your children, well, in present times, now that you are old and we are the young generation now currently, we are working toward a better version of our future, which is based on what we have inherited from you, from what you're leaving behind. When you were young, you were voting, for example, for things that suited your interests, your needs. Maybe they went against what the old people from your time believed. You won in some of those cases. You got what you wanted. How come it is like demonic when we young people expect and demand what we consider to be betterment for our lives, and you very harshly oppose it? This is our young season. What makes it different from back in your day when you were fighting for things? You were celebrating that stuff. How come sometimes you're not there celebrating the achievements that we have, and you try to belittle us saying that we're just asking for things to be easier or handed out, whatever the fuck y'all say? Is our present, which is your past's future, what you imagined? If it isn't, how are we going to fix it? How are we going to change it? When we make decisions in an effort to improve our lives, you get salty about it and you resort to saying that when you were young, stuff was so much difficult for you because we didn't have all this technology, whatever your excuses are. And I'm thinking, okay, you guys back in your day had to fight to get those things because it's what you wanted, believing that that's the kind of stuff that would simplify your life based on the challenges that you experienced at the time. Why is it difficult for you to see it through our eyes, which is we were born into this world with the stuff that you were fighting for, that you felt that you needed during your time, but we have found flaws within those things, and as opposed to acknowledging them as such, you get offended that we look at those things as flaws in the first place because when I was young, stuff was so much harder. So what about the challenges that the next generation is born into that they face that makes our life tough? I almost feel like you believe that we're supposed to be exempt from problems because now you are living in the season in which you are reaping what you sowed. You're supposed to be harvesting now in this stage of your life. But we are saying that when we imagine our harvesting time, we ain't gonna have a harvest. We're going to have to continue to keep planting, and our time to maybe reap some of that is gonna be up. And when we were kids and stuff, and you guys were figuring out how to be parents, you always hide behind this excuse of everything that I was doing, I was trying to do it to make your life better, to give you a better opportunity for you to have a better life. I get it. We're not born with a manual on how to be a parent and whatnot, but for how long are you going to hide behind that excuse? How long do we have to pay our debt of what you did? But for some of us, it simply wasn't enough. It's simply based on the circumstances that we were thrust into adulthood. Some of us are at a severe disadvantage. So why is it so scary when, say, someone like me brings this stuff up for discussion? It's like y'all don't want to hear any of it because the first thing you do is you get defensive. And I get it. It would be offensive to hear that in an area of your life something didn't go well. But at least hear us out so that in the future, when it's our turn to be in your place, in your role, maybe we don't make those kinds of mistakes. So all I'm asking is that you help me understand. Help me understand how, from my perspective, to me, sometimes you sound like your heart is full of venom because although when you were young, you were probably saying that you hoped for a better future, and now this is the future, and I guess you did not identify that transition period. Help me understand what you meant about helping us have a better future, because sometimes when good stuff do happen to kids, I feel like you resent it. Sometimes you resent the fact that some of us may not have struggled as bad as you did when you were young, and therefore we cannot appreciate what it took for you to get to a certain spot. And I'm thinking, is that really our debt to pay though? Is that something that we have to be held accountable for in some way? What I mean by that is that I have heard of people with kids who have like this weird jealousy about their kids being better off, say in their 20s or 30s, compared to them. And I'm thinking, that's supposed to be the whole point of you being a parent. You're supposed to wish for your descendants to have it way better than you did. That's supposed to be the source of your joy. But I feel like some of you resent that, and in a sense you want to have that, but I guess you don't understand that that was, I guess, the sacrifice you had to make, the price you had to pay. And like, the reason I put it like that is because I am someone who genuinely enjoys helping other people grow and succeed. And some of you might be like, well, why don't you help yourself grow and succeed? And it's because I guess my definition of what success is simply does not match the culture that I was born into and I belong into here in the US. For me personally, like, nothing makes me happier and feel more fulfilled and satisfied than being part of a team or part of like a couple in which, okay, I do not desire to move up in this company, but you do. Here's what I'm going to do so that you can get there. How can I ally myself with you so that you can get there? That's how I am. I like to build up as opposed to build my own self sometimes. And maybe the way that I go about helping others is the way that I end up building myself up, even if I don't have anything to show for. What I have to show for it is my character traits, that intangible stuff, pretty much. You all have like this crazy pride about when I started working in whatever industry, it used to be so unsafe, less precautions, less regulation. We used to get hurt. We used to die. We used to get sick, whatever. I'm sorry that you got abused. I'm sorry that you had to be, I guess, the guinea pig squad to figure out that with everything that's new, there are going to be some dangers, and that the mentality back then was not to identify those threats before they became a problem and neutralize them. But no, instead stuff got rolled out with threats that maybe we were not identifying as threats. And it took some of y'all dying and getting sick for that to be rectified. Sorry, I really am. But do not normalize unsafe working conditions, unsafe materials and environments and all that, because that's what you went through at your time. That's what you knew, and you made it. So therefore you want us to suffer from the stuff that you suffered, as opposed to being like, you know what, kid, it really sucks to, I don't know, get burnt from fire. I'm really gonna try to protect you from fire so that you don't suffer like I did. That's what this is about. That's what I'm trying to illustrate here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't struggle at all, because there's some stuff that only through struggle can you learn the lesson. What I'm saying is the bigger picture, all in all. Anything that resembles us moving forward or making something better or safer, you say, back in my day, we used to be tougher. I'm not dismissing the fact that you had to toughen out based on the times that you knew during your season when you were young. But what I'm saying is that when we do progress, don't be salty about it. In conclusion, if your kids are struggling or are worse than you were, that means you failed. We just gotta say it like that. What else can it mean? Like, definitely, it cannot mean that we're marching in the right direction. We're moving backward. So that's the way I see it. That's what I hope that you understand and accept anytime a young person discusses shit like this. Maybe the way I'm phrasing it is what needs to be said. Maybe one person who didn't get it listening to another person might get it listening to me. Or maybe when I say it, you may not get it, and eventually you will listen to someone else who will help my point get across. They will help me do that on my behalf, like without really knowing. But that's what I mean. What do you guys think? Because it's something that I'm pretty torn on, and I'm just appalled that I feel like I cannot rely on older folks because their own interests are in the way. And I want them to recognize that, unfortunately, some seasons go and they're not meant to come back. And maybe that is the cost, that is the price that you have to pay. I don't want to wrap this up exclusively, like I'm just sitting here attacking you for what you have done, etc. It's not about that. It's just that I feel like the way that we have put ourselves up in this society, our customs, our routines, our schedules, do not promote us connecting. So maybe the reason you guys opine in that manner and we feel like you guys are disconnected and not on our side, it might boil down to the fact that we lacked attention. We lacked togetherness. We lacked connection. We did not cultivate that stuff from the moment that we were born, growing up as kids, heading into adolescence, the end of our childhood, and officially becoming young adult, older adult. We lacked some leadership. And I guess it's leadership that it belonged to you to be the leaders on our lives, but the circumstances of your life trying to make ends meet did not allow that. With that said, when we young people say that we want to work fewer hours because, say, our home lives are suffering, that is what we inherited from you. That maybe during your time, you did not recognize the damaging consequences this would have. We are saying that we went through that and we want to fix that. But you are saying, no, man, that makes me mad because I had to work so hard, so much more, withstand so much more for longer, and I got through it. And here I am. And we are saying that the price that you paid doing that, which is neglecting your house, neglecting your children, neglecting your spouses, we want to fix that, change that, because it did not make us happy. It made us deprived, depressed, deranged, insane, crazy, lonely, hurt, negative emotions associated with you doing what you had to do for us to be okay, like economically and physically, but emotionally, we simply did not develop.